I'm Jen Wilson, Senior Programmer for Film Independent Presents. Welcome to this Festival Visions Edition Q&A. Special thanks to our lead sponsor, HFPA, our media sponsor, KCRW, our virtual screenings partner, Vision Media, and for this screening, the National Endowment for the Arts for the grant that gave us this Festival Visions program. Today, we're spotlighting a short film that played in the 2022 Bentonville Film Festival in Bentonville, Arkansas. And with us to do the Q&A from that festival is their film curator, Drea Clark. Welcome, Drea.
Thanks, Jen. I'm going to take over right now. Thank you for having us. Bentonville was thrilled to have both of the films today, and Seasick stood out to me in particular and is a personal favorite. So it's a delight to be here and showing this with Film Independent for the Film Independent audience. And even more of a treat to be talking to the writer-director of Seasick, Lindsey Ryan. Thanks for being here, Lindsey.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for having me.
Yes, so everyone just watched it, and I think for a lot of our audience who are also filmmakers, there's an immediate thing watching this film where you're like, oh my God, did you choose the most difficult location in the world? I'd love to hear a little about why you did it, because the world building in it is so unique and specific, and it's one of the highlights, but it is definitely a production challenge. What made you choose this location?
Yeah, I think, well, for starters, my whole life, I've always made things a little more complicated than necessary. So I think it's just innately in me to overcomplicate things. But that being said, I was a deckhand on the boat that you see in this film. So it's very much inspired by a lot of my lived work experience from a young age. And I thought so much of my work always connects back to a nautical theme. And I think that wherever I can incorporate a boat and make sense of it, I usually do. But there was something about the claustrophobia and being stuck that really worked with this backdrop. And I felt like her being completely, just stuck in one space when having to kind of go through this tumultuous journey of a text message needing to be deleted or however that was going to play out. It felt like the boat really served the storyline.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide. I mean, there's nowhere to hide on the boat for the moment, but also there's nowhere to hide for her truth of this sort of burgeoning reality of what she's becoming accustomed to. So were there any particular challenges that you hit while filming?
Oh yeah, tons. I think so. There was no bathrooms on the boats. And just shooting exterior 4 days of it ended up being 4. It was meant to be 3, but just having to manage light and really schedule around the hours of daylight that we had, and then all the complications with just scheduling against an actual live ferry terminal, and then not having bathrooms. So all of our extras, we needed to really plan when we were going to go and do shore stuff so that they could use the bathroom. And we did have a portable little potty for emergencies, but there was there was way more difficulty than there was ease, as I'm sure you'd expect with something like this. But we managed to make it all work and kind of just power through all of the complications.
That's great. So you can imagine for a festival programmer like myself, and particularly at a festival like Bentonville, where we're really looking out for underrepresented stories, I'm watching a lot of queer films. And there's something about that it's such a specific life experience. But I think in Seasick, what really makes this resonate is the messaging becomes so much more acutely about the anxiety of being found out for a crush, regardless of if they know if someone's out or anything. And I really appreciated how you dovetailed those two emotions, the fear of self and identity, but also just nobody wants their crush to know, push me in a lake instead. So what was it when crafting this story? Did you have that in mind in terms of audience, of wanting to speak to a queer audience, but also making it more broadly accessible?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for pointing that out and for bringing that up, because I think I definitely like to root my work in a really universal theme, although they end up being in quite niche worlds. I really like to attack characters and plot from a place that everyone can connect to, because I think when you take an experience that is so niche and you can tie it into something that's a little bit broader, you end up with kind of both audiences. And that's something that I'm attracted to in the work I like to see, but also in the work I like to create.
Excellent. And then I think that Pauline Chalamet is such a standout as this very anxious, character and you feel so sympathetic to her immediately. I'm like, oh, I know this girl. How did you go about casting? And then did you have time to rehearse with her and with the other members of the cast?
So this was peak COVID, 2020, the summer. That was a whole another complication of everything. So we didn't have rehearsal time. And that was something that I took and learned from, because I think like that is so integral, especially with something like this. Like I just, there was a lot happening that to have that rehearsal time would have been such a game changer. So we did a couple Zoom things and rehearsed, just talked through characters and trying to understand the world. And with Pauline, so I had actually met Pauline. So I was a director's assistant for many years, and I had met Pauline on a show that she had been auditioning for when I was working as a director's assistant, and we had formed a connection then. And when I was writing Seasick, I knew she was so capable just based on this one audition. I knew she was so capable of that sort of angst, and the way that she can use her physical body language to portray anxiety was so compelling. So I knew that she would be a perfect fit. And luckily she liked the script and everything sort of came together there.
See, that's a perfect, and it's a good message for filmmakers to take away and for artists to take away. You never know at what level you're going to encounter the people who are going to want to collaborate with you later on. So, Lindsey, thank you so much for letting us show this at Bentonville and then bringing it to this at Film Independent as well. A delight to have you. I also appreciate that you've stuck to your transportation theme with your recording situation today. Very on trend. Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.